There is no question that having a monitor with a higher refresh rate will give you a better gaming experience. It might even help you gain that competitive edge in games that benefit from those quicker refresh rates. So upgrading from that 1080p 60Hz monitor is a no-brainer. Here's the deal though, if you have ever tried out gaming on a 4K monitor, it is pretty tough to go back to a lower resolution. Luckily, 4K monitors with high refresh rates are pretty readily available. The problem is, they vary wildly in price. Today, we are going to be looking at a 28-inch option from Epic Gamers, and from the looks of the spec sheet, it is packed with features. Now, before you jump up and buy a monitor like this, you need to make sure your graphics card can handle, first, the resolution, and second, the refresh rate. Something along the lines of a 3070 or higher will be able to handle pushing 144 frames to monitors like these, and that will be without lowering the quality settings in most titles. I say most because even the 3090 can't handle 144 Hz in some games. Microsoft Flight Simulator, I'm looking at you. So before we go any further, I'm going to go ahead and grab this monitor, which has been sitting down here the whole time, and throw it up on the table here for you guys to take a look at. All right, let's bring it up here. Looks pretty good. Now, let's get a couple things straight here. This monitor uses a TN, or Twisted Pneumatic Panel, which has a long history of being the best for gaming. This is due to its incredibly low response time. Just as a quick refresher, let's throw up the different types of panels. You have Twisted Pneumatic, In-Plane Switching, or IPS, and Vertical Alignment, which is VA. TN panels are cheaper, have better response time, and decent blacks. They do lag behind on color reproduction and viewing angles. IPS panels are the best at color reproduction, something that's really great for photo and video editing, and great viewing angles, but used to suffer from high response times. This isn't really the case anymore as the technology has advanced, and they usually have significantly higher cost, but they can also have washed out black levels when compared to TN panels. VA sits in the middle of the two. Decent viewing angles, decent color reproduction, fantastic black levels, and a pretty low response time. This does come with a slightly higher price tag though, nudging it closer to IPS panels rather than the TN. To make it easy to choose which monitor is right for you, figure out what you'll be doing for the majority of the time spent looking at it. Gaming with a budget? TN. Video or photo editing? IPS. If you want the best of both worlds and no issue with the cost, you can go with VA. So here we are with a newcomer to the monitor market, Epic Gamers, trying to offer something different to the people of Qatar. Keep in mind, all monitor panels come from the same handful of manufacturers. Only the other electronics and the housing change between brands. This is definitely not an unboxing video because I tore this thing out of the box the second I got it. I've been running it through the ringer for a couple weeks now, and I've got to say, I've been finding myself using this combined with the 2080 Ti instead of the 49-inch G9 and 3090 combo. Now this monitor does support both FreeSync and G-Sync, but not on all inputs. This is also the same for unlocking the full 144Hz refresh rate. To unleash the full potential for this monitor, it's best to stick with DisplayPort. Now, one thing that'll separate this monitor from some of the other budget offerings is the ability to display HDR content. It's a little bit low on its maximum brightness to meet the true HDR standards, and it doesn't show up as HDR certified, but Windows does allow you to enable it. Before we get into the performance of this panel, let's go over what houses it. First off, it's a chunky boy. I mean really chunky, 9.5 kilos. This is due to its all metal construction. Durable? Absolutely. Mounted on a wall, better make sure that bracket is up to snuff. And that 9.5 kilos is without the power supply because this thing has an external power brick. The bezels are pretty large when compared to some of the other offerings, but they're not crazy obnoxious. It's got separate buttons for power, menu, up and down, as well as back. And these are some of the clickiest buttons I have ever pressed. For inputs, you have 2 HDMI and 2 DisplayPort. And yes, this can do picture-in-picture as well as picture-over-picture and picture next to picture. Now, users beware, the menus are in Arabic. But the manual is in English and it goes over all the settings step by step with pictures, so it's not impossible to configure. It just takes a little bit of time. Now I have a few monitors in this category and that helps greatly with testing. We've got an Acer I don't remember the part number, There's the part number. Now that is a 28-inch diagonal TN panel, which is 4K 60 Hz. We also have an LG, and don't know the part number, that is a 27-inch IPS panel, and it is also 4K 60 Hz. Using a couple test patterns, you can see that the color table and color difference are pretty closely matched on the older Acer TN panel and this. Now this is expected on these TN panels, and you can see that the color reproduction on the IPS panel is definitely better, and it's a clear winner. But that's not why you're getting one of these TN panels. You get it because you can get a higher refresh rate at a lower cost and get that really low latency, the low response time. So what I did was take the response time test and throw up all the different monitors at the same time. Hopefully you can see the difference between this TN panel, which is brand new, an older TN panel that does not have very good response times, and the IPS offering. What I think that shows is that this has an incredibly fast response time, and that's something that is really important if you are gaming. That is the whole point of this thing, and the reason why you would sacrifice some of the other features that you might get in those other panels. So I can't really say whether or not the all-metal construction is a good or a bad thing. I mean, it does increase the weight significantly, but if you plan on using the included monitor stand, well then you really don't have to worry about the weight. It's not going to be heavy enough to break a desk, but it is not portable at all. So I wouldn't plan on just packing this up and taking it to the next LAN party. So the stand does have the left and right movement. It does rotate 90 degrees, but this monitor is so long that this stand does not support vertical orientation, but it would if you had a smaller screen. And it does tilt up and down. So a decent amount of adjustments are available on here. Overall, I think it's a pretty decent first attempt from Epic Gamers to create something that is very high resolution, HDR, in 4K. It has decent brightness, average color reproduction, and a pretty incredible response time. So, yeah, I think it's worth it. Now, if you want to pick this up and you're in Qatar, you can head down to the description where you'll find a link to Store 974. Now, if you do go there and you pick up this monitor, go ahead and use the code BARTMAN'sBits. And when you do, you will get a 3% discount. I will also get 3% of your purchase to help support this channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and thanks for watching.